Top 8, baby.
Welcome back. What is that?
This is the belt. I grabbed it.
This is the Oh Cranky Man Championship belt.
It's incredibly shiny. It's made from real metal. This thing's like substantial. And it's like leather and metal. This is what the players are playing for, right? End of year? This is
the championship belt, yes.
Yeah, this thing is insane. You probably see what we're recording from it.
Absolutely incredible.
Going into round 7, quarterfinals, top 8.
Yep, quarters.
Oh my gosh!
So we have one heck of a top 8.
Yeah. So
7 different archetypes.
Yeah,
we've got 2 Rhinos.
2 Rhinos. We've got an Amulet Titan, which we saw in the last round.
Last round was Amulet Titan. Yep.
A Creativity.
Yep. It's 5-color Creativity.
5 colors. That's rad. 8 Crab, which is the mill deck.
8 Crab is the mill deck.
Yep. What is that? Austin?
He's playing Blue-Black Shadow.
Oh, Blue-Black Shadow. And then the Domain Zoo deck.
The Domain Zoo deck from round 2, I believe.
And then the final deck is Death. Is that Death Shadow?
Valakut. Just green red Valakut.
This last one here.
That's Death Shadow. You got that
Death
one
Shadow's the last one.
Yeah, Valakut.
Okay.
Red-green Valakut.
So Blake took notes on what is, and he wrote people's names next to the deck they're playing.
Yeah,
on 2 of the lines, he switched
them,
people,
yeah.
and it really confused me.
I'm
not an idiot. I mean, I am. But in this situation, I am. So Austin on Valakut, and then we have a Death Shadow deck. Wow, Death Shadow. Love to see that coming back. Feature match round, we've got
we are watching Shamus playing 5-color Creativity versus Chris, our first-seeded Team of Rhinos player.
Yeah, we have watched this man take people down with Rhinos. He pilots it so well, and we've already gotten started here. He's in the same position, top of the field. Shamus on the bottom with Creativity. Very good deck. This is sort of a match against who blinks first, right? Both decks play a lot of interaction. Or is the Creativity deck? Am I thinking the Creativity deck from Pioneer?
So the modern Creativity deck is absolutely nothing like the Pioneer Creativity deck. So the Pioneer Creativity deck is like blue-red control with an oops, I win button.
Yeah,
right?
You're playing a lot of make tokens kind of thing.
So the modern Creativity deck is like Teferi Time Raveler.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Rin and 6.
Okay.
And it's like Archon of Cruelty.
Oh, wow. So we're cascading into the actual meat, like the big boys, not just like a cute thing like a Pioneer.
Yes, absolutely.
We're getting a Rhinos in play, like right now.
Yep, turn three Shardless Agent brings a couple of Rhinos along with it. In these early turns for the Creativity deck, a lot of times we're just fetching mountains.
Yes.
Because Dwarven Mine.
Right, it makes the
Dwarven Mine often makes the token, which
Yep.
can get our Archon of Cruelty into play. So I will say Archon of Cruelty not nearly as impactful against the Rhinos deck.
Yes.
So it is going to come down as a 6/6, make them sacrifice one of their creatures and draw you a card and gain you 3 life.
They also have to discard a card.
They have to discard a card as well. However, they're still going to have at least one Rhino in play and maybe a Shardless Agent.
And Archon, when I say this, I would say it respectfully, only a 6/6.
Only a 6/6, and it gets tapped down by Fire Ice. Really, really
correct. Yeah. And
however, we've got the main deck Teferi Time Ravelers, which, as you know, we have talked about this today, immediately turns off your ability to cast a Cascade spell.
Was that a counter spell there on against the Rhinos?
I do believe that was countered. Yes.
Okay, excellent. It looks like a spell pierce there. That's like just correct, right? You let them have the 2/2. You're just buying time.
Right.
And yeah. In this case, having a creature to sacrifice to your Archon of Cruelty, it's fine. You're just getting extra value there.
Yep.
Is creativity one of the decks that can go super low in life total while it's setting up? Like it doesn't really matter what the life total is as long as it's not dead.
I believe for the most part that is the case, yes, because Archon of Cruelty is going to be incredibly backbreaking when it hits the battlefield, giving you a nice buffer to your life total, reducing your opponent's board and hand size.
And it does that on attack as well.
Yep. I would like to point out that Fire Ice is going to do a really good job of preventing Archon of Cruelty from attacking.
Yes. That's sort of a delay.
And here is a Teferi Time Raveler.
This is the beater. This is the thing that really beats the Rhinos.
This is the best card in the matchup, I think. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Not only can it bounce,
it prevents their mystical disputes.
Yep.
And it prevents them from cascading into Rhinos.
Yeah. And every turn that stays in play is a turn it doesn't get to do anything. Oh, and we're evoking it. Okay. This is sort of a requirement, right? We can't let this stay.
We cannot let Teferi live. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. The way that Teferi works is it says players can only cast spell. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they can cast a sorcery.
Correct.
Which means the cascade trigger just does not happen.
Yep. An expressive iteration from the creativity deck.
Yeah. Again, one of the only formats where this card is playable, and it makes good use of it.
Because of it not being banned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a power level thing. It's just you can't play it anywhere else. It's like Deathrite Shaman being playable in Pioneer. It's not because of power level. It's just the only place legally you can play it. We're getting another Rhinos here. We got a Violent Outburst coming in. Gonna make some Rhinos, and we got a Spell Pierce on it. This is sort of what creativity is wanting to do, right?
Yep.
It's just buying time, waiting, because ultimately, if it has a decent enough life total, and your opponent and you get that Archon in play, even if they ice it down, you're buying a turn,
right? You're buying a turn, yes.
And there's no reason they can't creativity into another one because it is a non-legendary creature,
right?
So, yeah,
Right here, he is representing his ability to go get a Dwarven Mine with his Arid Mesa. Creativity could happen next turn.
Yeah, if he has it in hand. And he's seen a fair few number of cards.
Here is a Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yep.
This is actually the first time we've seen this card today.
Oh, yeah, that's true. This card is incredible.
Not nearly as common in Modern as it is in Pioneer, but still very, very powerful Magic card.
It makes a token that can ramp you. And then it lets you loot away cards or rummage away cards that aren't impactful in order to look for the creativity.
Correct.
Because it's basically a one-card combo, right? Creativity.
More or less. Here's a third copy of Spell Pierce, going to take care of the third copy of Crashing Footfalls.
Wow.
Passing back to Temur Rhinos here.
It's interesting that he countered the... So he countered the Rhinos.
Right, and then the Violent Outburst does nothing.
It does nothing. Well, he's got the Sharpless Agent, but, not really doing anything with the 3/2 on his opponent's turn.
He casts the Violent Outburst at the end of his opponent's turn.
Yeah. So, it doesn't do anything.
It does nothing, yes.
Such a weird card. Such a weird, funny card that, when it was printed, basically was a pump spell with bonus, right?
Yeah.
And now we broke it.
Right.
We can't have anything nice. Modern players are going to break it. We saw so we've got the Petty Theft coming down, taking care of that token, getting rid of it so that we're not getting additional value.
We are resolving the Saga 2 trigger from Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah. So
Chapter 2.
Pitch 2, draw 2, or pitch however many he wants.
And then draw that many.
Yep. Up to 2. We still have the Arid Mesa in play to go for the Dwarven Mine.
To find the Dwarven Mine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So even though the Goblin's off the play, it's not going to ramp him. That can be fine. So the way that Indomitable Creativity is, you can pay X any number of times to get that many number of targets. So if you have 3 things to sack, and you can pay 6 mana into this, you can get all 3 copies of your Archon.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yep.
And right now at 9 life, he's not feeling that much pressure. Like,
No.
he wants to do something.
He's been able to answer each one of the crashing footfalls, and I think that's what's really, really important in this matchup. If he can keep him off of a really fast clock, if he can keep the Rhinos off of the table, I think that he's pretty well positioned to start putting Arkans into play, at least in game one.
Yeah. Which isn't to say the Rhinos that can't go the distance, right? Like, if Chris can get out this ferry and just start hammering in, he's at 9.
Right. Yeah. No, the game is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
And we're going to see if he wants to trade this token for the Sharpless Agent.
But once again, a bit of a flashback to round 5 there, where Chris is just making his opponent have the answer.
Yes. Because there's only there's a finite number of resources. We've seen every copy of Spell Pierce be effective, but there's only so many of those.
Right.
Whereas Chris can effectively play an Endurance, shuffle his graveyard back into his library,
and start all over again.
Yep. Whereas, Seamus just has one game plan, and that game plan is to deploy these threats.
Yep.
And he's not winning off of his 2/2 goblins. He's not winning off of lightning bolts. He's winning off of creativity entirely.
Yep.
Let's see here. What are we working on here?
We are resolving saga triggers.
Okay. So one saga is going to go up to 2, one's going to go up to 3. We're going to flip this into
Reflection of Kiki-Jiki.
Even a bad Kiki-Jiki, still a good Kiki-Jiki.
Being able to copy Archon of Cruelty, never bad.
No, it not being legendary, again, super important.
Mm-hmm.
And this card not being legendary, the Reflection not being legendary, is also super important. Mm-hmm. And just like being able to copy your goblin tokens to then sacrifice.
Good enough.
Yeah, like you don't need a lot. You just need a little.
Yeah, Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, very, very good in this 5-color creativity deck.
Oh yeah, it makes a body that is effectively, eventually Archon of Cruelty. It can ramp you by making treasure. Why is the goblin a 2/2? Why is the token a 2/2? That's
because it costs 3 mana.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, what? You got me there.
1/1 goblin might feel bad.
Yeah, a 1/1 goblin might feel bad when the card is also doing everything else and then also eventually becoming a Kiki-Jiki. Yeah.
I do love me a Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
The card is bonkers. But the thing is, it's not so bonkers that it's like...
Here we see copy 3 hitting the board.
Holy cow!
Remember when you said he's not winning the game with his goblins?
You know what?
He might.
I stand absolutely corrected. We're going to cast this Brazen Borrower now.
Brazen Borrower was getting flashed in at the end of turn.
Which is, that's 3 damage, right? That's a bolt every turn.
3 turn clock.
And at 8 life, we're going to take him to 5 now if he doesn't have any blockers. We're still sitting in a position where a creativity sort of just immediately wins the game for Seamus, right? He has enough tokens. He has enough resources as far as mana that he can just deploy it. And it'll wipe his opponent's board, gain him, if he gets all 3, gains him 9 life, strips 3 cards from hand, draws 3 cards, wipes his opponent's board. And that's sort of game over, right?
Yep.
And at 5 life now, he's still stable.
We're evoking a Fury. That's going to take care of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki and the Goblin token.
Two potential targets for the creativity. We're still going to be able to flip one of those sagas.
I believe the goal here is to try to run Chris out of resources before attempting to resolve the Indomitable creativity. If we sort of let him use everything that he has, and then put our Archon of Cruelty into play, it's much more likely that Archon will be able to go to the distance.
Agreed. Yeah, we got a Murktide coming down.
Murktide is coming down.
So this is lethal.
It is, yes.
And this sort of forces Seamus' hand. But it also represents exactly what Seamus wants. Oh, we got a Leyline Binding.
Leyline Binding.
Wow. We've seen this card quite a bit, right?
Yep, we've seen it out of the Domain Zoo decks, and we have seen it out now of 5-color creativity.
Flash is sort of the best part of this card.
Yeah, absolutely. In most situations, it's a 1-mana exile a creature.
Yeah, so both. Yeah, exactly. And both of the decks that are playing it are 5 color.
Yep.
Like, they're not struggling to make those colors.
Nope, not at all.
And like, while creativity is I would say primarily red-blue deck, it easily makes the rest of the colors. And it just kind of leans back into having all 5 lands represented. So now we're going to make this token. So now we've got a creature in play. We have a fetch land that we can turn into a dwarf with Dwarven Mine.
Yep.
And we are able to rummage 2 cards right now.
Yep.
So if he is able to draw into a creativity right now, that should be game.
It won't be game yet.
No, but it's close enough.
Chris has a very healthy life total. I think he still has 1 card left in his hands.
Is it a counterspell?
But the point is that the Archon will be much more impactful here than it would be if Chris had a grip full of cards.
What counterspells does Rhinos run main board? Just Mystical Dispute?
I don't think Chris is running his Mystical Disputes in the main deck.
Force? He's only got 1 card in hand.
I'm not sure. I think he does have some number of Force of Negations. Not 100% sure on his deck list, to be honest.
Where's the dwarf? Are we going to see it?
Well, usually they will wait to fetch until they have the creativity.
Yep.
There's no reason to put that dwarf into play and expose it to removal
Yep.
or any other kind of shenanigans. Just wait until you have the creativity. It doesn't cost you anything.
Creativity on the stack, we're killing the target.
A Brazen Borrower is going to bounce the token. This does not fizzle the Indomitable creativity. He just will only get to do it 1 time now instead of 2.
Yeah. It's funny that both of these decks have a mode where they just start flipping cards from the top of their deck.
Yep, there is an Archon of Cruelty.
Yep.
The big bad boy from Modern Horizons 2 gonna come down and do a little bit of a Cruel Ultimatum impression, right?
It's sort of absurd how powerful this card is.
This very, very good card. One of my favorite cards from Modern Horizons 2. It is an 8-mana 6/6 flyer. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent sacrifices a creature, planeswalker, discards a card, and loses 3 life. You get to draw a card and gain 3 life.
And that was enough. Got game 1. Yeah, Rhinos did a great job of putting a lot of pressure on his opponent. Had lethal on board. Seamus just had the answers for it. Had the removal at the right time.
Yep.
Had the creativity. And like we sort of intuited at the beginning.
I think I would have liked to take another draw step there if I'm the Rhinos deck.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, you're not dead. He has to attack you twice before the game is over.
And you can Rhinos out.
Granted, the Fable is going to flip there, so he will, in theory, have the ability in another turn cycle to start copying the Archon. I still want to see what's on the top of my library.
Yeah, you play it out.
Since I'm not dead right away, I'd like to see what happens.
That was a really good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Seamus went down to 4 there, or 5, 4, he went down to 4 life.
Yep.
And like I said at the beginning of the match, that the actual life total isn't super important
until it is.
Yep. And going to 4 means he's outside of bolt range.
Yep.
He's outside of fire range.
Yep.
And
we're not playing Bolt in the Temur Rhinos.
No, I'm just saying, like, in general, like, that's why I went to fire.
So what are we looking at for sideboards here?
Excellent question.
Rhinos has Force of Negation.
Force of Negation. We have Mystical Disputes if they're not already in the board. Just, like, sometimes you just hard counter it, right?
Right, sometimes it's just a 3-mana mana leak, which sucks, but...
Yeah, which, I mean, if you have... But that's sort of the price you pay to be in the deck.
So I find that the best way to interact with these creativity decks is to destroy the things that they're targeting with the creativity while the creativity is on the stack. So I think Force of Vigor is going to be pretty good here against those treasure tokens.
Right.
It's going to be pretty good against the Fable of the Mirror Breakers.
It
doesn't get to kill the dwarf tokens. It doesn't get to kill the goblin tokens. But you have other stuff that can take care of that. I think Force of Vigor going to be pretty good here.
Yeah, fire could just like you can disperse the 2
Right,
damage.
fire can kill like
2 tokens.
two dwarves or a dwarf go onto your face, something like that. What are we looking at for sideboards from the creativity side?
Interesting question. So this is the first time we've seen the deck today.
Yep.
We've got Flusterstorm. We've talked about that, how powerful it is against the Rhinos deck.
It is very powerful against the Rhinos deck.
I think, let's see, Hallowed Moonlight. So that's a instant for 1 and a white. This is until end of turn. If a creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast,
yes.
It just totally dunks.
This is the mono white sideboard tech against creativity and Pioneer.
Yes.
The mono white decks and Pioneer are playing this card to hose the creativity decks.
Yes.
So this card seems sweet actually because not only is it good in the mirror,
it's good in this.
It's also good against Temur Rhinos.
And it draws a card. It replaces itself immediately.
Yeah.
And it's instant speed. So
totally right. That does seem very sweet.
I would probably bring that in. I would probably bring in Flusterstorm. I would probably board out maybe a copy, maybe the Prismari commands. Because we want to do
Prismari command is an instant speed way to make a treasure token for the creativity.
Is that really a thing that they're struggling to do?
It is a thing that is very important.
It is, yes.
So it is important that they maintain a threshold of ways to make targets, especially because, like I said before, the primary way to interact with this deck is to destroy the targets with the creativity on the stack. So the more ways you have to make targets, the better off you're going to be.
Right. And then just more mana, right? I guess having the treasure tokens just to be additional mana.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, go down prismatic endings.
When we get into a mode where we're playing a very long grindy game, we can just start casting Arcane of Cruelties.
Yeah. I think we go down prismatic endings. Not as impactful in this.
1 mana kill a token.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. What about like engineered explosives or something? We've seen that card. We've seen that card do work against. We've seen that card do work against Rhinos all day long.
It does blow up your own tokens.
It will blow up your own tokens, though, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that... I think there's a lot of options.
Yeah, definitely. When you're playing a 5-color deck, the world is your oyster.
It really is.
You kind of get to do whatever you want.
Yeah, we're not so heavy on the black, but being able to just Flusterstorm away, like, all of your opponent's spells, especially while, like, it's a clean 2-for-1 a lot of the time. Because you get to both interact with, like, if they cast a Shardless Agent, a lot of times the deck will have to deal with the Rhinos instead of the Shardless Agent, and they're left with the 2/2. But if you Flusterstorm, then you get them both.
Flusterstorm can only counter non-creature spells.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Instant or sorcery.
Instant or sorcery.
Yeah.
So you can't even get planeswalkers.
My bad. Sorry. If they could bring in an extra Time Raveler, I think they would.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a 4th in the board. A lot of these decks play 3.
Yep.
I'd bring in 4.
Yeah.
I would if I could put in 5, I would.
Play your Teferi Mage of the Salfir.
Yeah.
I'll make you play a fair game.
Yeah, I agree. So, Fire Justice say this is a notable case where Rhinos players need to outburst a pump or play Shardless to chump. You can still flip cards to Cascade and then shuffle to the bottom, which notably can reveal information about the Rhinos player's hand by what card they revealed.
Yeah, we talked about that quite a bit earlier.
Yeah, we've seen this deck quite a bit today.
Yep.
And we definitely have talked about how giving away information while not doing an instant kill or like a huge advantage bar, like with creativity, like the advantage bar immediately swings to the creativity player if they get to do it. With Rhinos, you're just getting a lot of advantage, but then a lot of times you just counter the spell that comes after. Whereas with creativity, it's just you're getting it.
Yep.
If you're resolving it.
So if you recall back in round 5, what I talked about Temur Rhinos game plan was going to be best is suspending the Rhinos on turn 1 and then just protecting your Rhinos as you play them.
And this sort of forces him to have interestingly, Seamus could look at this and go, I have to counter this in X turns, but then that means he has to also respect the Cascade. So having, like, if you could cast a Crashing Footfalls literally every turn 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's almost like the best case scenario.
I mean, it's your classic rattlesnake move, right?
Yes.
You're bottlenecking him.
Yes, because he has to have the correct answer on the correct turn.
Correct.
Yeah. And again, I don't know what kind of counter magic he brought in from the sideboard, I do know that Rhinos has mystical disputes and loves to cast them.
Yep. So it looks like a ice going to tap down the land at the end of on Shamus's instep.
Mm-hmm.
I think no, maybe that was in his upkeep actually. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Well, so we are passing back to Chris now, who will untap, remove a time
Good
counter.
tempo play.
Remove a time counter. Yep, that's again going back to round 5. This is what I was talking about.
Yep.
Rhinos really becomes a tempo deck in games 2 and 3.
You can see how much experience Chris has playing this deck with how he shifted gears
Yep.
so quickly. Like, he played the card that he needed to on turn 1, and then spent an ice to just get an extra turn. Basically, time walk his opponent.
Yep.
Which he, like, it's wild how effective that was, right?
Sure.
And now he has 3 mana. Now he basically has the ability to start cascading and forcing these counters.
Yep.
While also having the Rhino ready to go effectively from exile.
Yep. He's bottlenecking his opponent's resources, attacking him from multiple angles, stressing his ability to interact with him, making him have it.
While Seamus, at the same time, has to spend resources to deploy cards that are going to make him tokens. He has to be able to spend mana to counter things.
Yep. I think also hindering him is his ability to be a 5-color deck and play a game of Magic. If you see there, he's fetching triomes. Chances are, the creativity deck, a lot of the times, it doesn't even do anything on turns 1 and 2 other than develop its mana base. It's just fetching on those turns anyway.
Yep.
But if he was banking on being able to do something, he's not doing anything now.
It does remind me, in a way, of the Domain deck, but without the punch threats at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Where it's just building up.
Right.
But so instead of having, like, turn 1 off, turn 2 deploy, enormous threat, it's just really winding up a ton.
Yep.
Which does allow Chris to sort of, if he's on the play, pressure the hinges.
Absolutely.
So now, let's see here. We've got...
I believe we were back on Shamus's turn.
That Rhino's got 1 counter left on it?
He's just, yes, it has 1 counter. He's just finished untapping, and we are waiting to see what he's going to do. Looks like a Scalding Tarn and a pass.
Yep. So now Chris has the ability, he has mana up to protect this Rhino spell with a Mystical Dispute, which I assume he has in hand.
Right. I think we're going to see something at the end of Shamus's turn here.
Okay, sure.
He picked up his hand there when Shamus passed.
He's got a full grip.
Maybe reviewing our options.
Are we going to crack that Wooded Foothills, maybe?
Nope, looks like he's just going to start his turn. So, Crashing Footfalls.
It had 2 counters on it.
It must have. Yep, Crashing Footfall is going to go down to 1 counter. We'll take a draw step.
It is a suspend 4. I'd be suspicious if it was resolving on turn 4.
Here's 3 mana coming. It's a Shardless Agent.
It's a foil Shardless Agent, notably.
Cascade Trigger is good. So we've got Rhinos coming.
Presumably.
He did bring in the Blood Moons.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's interesting that Rhinos played against a deck that Blood Mooned him and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it did. It slowed him down.
Mm-hmm. But not enough to the where.
It slowed him down, but he was able to bounce the Blood Moon, resolve 2 critical spells before his opponent could put the Blood Moon back into play again. So
now we get to have... We're testing Seamus, right? Again.
Yeah, it's a stress test.
We're testing him.
Yep.
The hinges are being pressured, and we're going, do you have this? And if he doesn't, that's, a 3-turn clock. And, a 3-turn clock with, what is this coming down? Presumably a counter
It
spell.
is the white Hallowed
We just
Moonlight.
talked about that. Yeah, Hallowed Moonlight. And he gets to draw a card off of that.
So Hallowed Moonlight, 2 mana instant until the end of the turn. If a creature would enter the battlefield and was not cast, exile, and instead draw a card. So the Rhinos will get exiled upon entering, and then it'll replace itself in his hand.
And another Hallowed Moonlight.
The Rhino is going to come off of suspend there. Second copy of Hallowed Moonlight from Shamus. Gonna take care of that.
The best part of this card is the last line on the card.
Draw a card.
Yes.
Yep. Totally
Like,
agree.
If there was a counter spell for 2 mana, and we have a subtlety.
That is a mystical dispute.
Okay. So he's paying retail.
3 mana mystical dispute. It's just a mana leak here.
Yeah, that's actually this is what we're talking about.
I don't know how. Yeah, Spell Pierce going to take care of that. I don't know how playing that mystical dispute there, how good that was.
It was just testing. I think.
Well, we're not under any pressure from the creativity deck at this point.
Oh, right.
Resolving this Rhinos here doesn't matter a ton. We still get to get in for 2, keep our resources up.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if our opponent untaps and plays a Teferi Time Raveler, we might never get to play Rhinos again.
Right. Yeah. I guess I hadn't considered that that's still an option, right? Like,
yeah, we have not reached the point in the game where we need to protect the Rhinos that are in play. We need to protect our ability to play Rhinos.
Right. It's hard because like that mystical dispute countering a Teferi is way more impactful, right? Like,
that's absolutely what I mean.
That's what you're going for. And instead of fighting over, the counter spell for this, you just go, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Spend that, and then later on,
you've got your endurances, you've got your 8 cascade spells.
Right.
You're gonna recycle your Rhinos. You're gonna put them back in there. You can keep playing the game of Magic. There's no reason to get rid of our mystical dispute.
One Rhino is all you need in the deck. That's it.
Well, we might want a few more than that.
Yeah, hopefully. But like reasonably, like as long as you have
here's
one
Teferi.
Yeah,
I hope he has another mystical dispute.
Let's see. Does he crack that in response? Oh, yeah.
Force of negation.
There we go. This is so Chris did have a grip full of cards, right?
He does, yes.
I think that's totally reasonable to just spend that resource and just test again. Like you said, we're testing, right? We're poking at the waters.
Yeah, I think it was unnecessary.
Understandable.
If it was lethal, if we were in a situation where we were trying to protect the queen, I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
But just strictly for purposes of posturing, I think it's a waste of your mystical dispute.
We're definitely letting Seamus go longer, which is exactly what he wants. Is that another Shardless agent?
Yes, that is another Shardless agent.
Okay, so
more Rhinos coming.
Rhinos. Let's see, and we've got another. What is that? Another Spell Pierce? Or is that a Flusterstorm? I think it was 2 mana.
I recognize the art, but I do not recall what card that is.
Unclear. Is that a mana leak?
No, I don't believe so.
We're going to go take a quick look at what that spell was. Notably, Chris just has 2 threats now. And that's sometimes enough. Like, if he has the ability to control the board now, he's got 4 damage coming in a turn right now with no creatures on Seamus' side. What was the card?
It's Change the Equation.
Change the Equation out of Strixhaven.
Yes. No. It's a new spell from
oh, right.
From the new what is it called? March of Machines. So
it does represent Strixhaven.
It's a 2 mana counter target spell with mana value 2 or less, or a counter target red or green spell with mana value 6 or less.
Notably, it is both of those things.
It is both of those things.
It's a green spell with mana value 2 or less. This card actually seems bonkers. I haven't seen it yet today, but this card seems great. As a sideboard, like, you definitely bring this in from the sideboard. Right?
It counters Rin 6, it counters Crashing Footfalls. I mean, it counters any red or green card that gets played.
Expressive Iteration.
It counters any red or green card that gets played in Modern, and it also counters anything with CMC 2 or less. It does seem very good.
Yeah, it does counter just Primeval Titan.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's nothing really bigger than that gets played genuinely.
What is that one card called? I can't remember what it's called now. The Cultivator Colossus.
Oh, right.
It doesn't counter Cultivator Colossus.
Oh, you got me there.
Rhinos takes down game 2.
All right. So
he got him. He got him with the Murktide Regent.
Yeah, and we saw there where Chris just having 2/2s, having those Shardless agents just chipping in every turn, wore him down.
Yep.
Chris stripped the resources from Seamus's hands at the same time he was attacking it. It was very much a 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
absolutely. Where he was asking question after question after question and just pelting him with these 2/2s every turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a classic example of like the different play styles you have to do, and that was a tempo game.
Mm-hmm.
If there's ever a tempo game, it's winning with 2 bears. While
you're
testing your opponent.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah. You didn't need to resolve those spells. You just needed to take the resource that resolving those spells required.
Mm-hmm.
So going to game 3 here, any changes in sideboards, we think?
Yeah, the caverns.
Yeah, those a cavern coming in over a basic.
Yep.
I don't think that creativity is on Blood Moon. So crashing footfall is probably going down.
But Rhinos does have Blood Moon.
Yes. I don't. Is it using Blood Moon? It does have. We saw it in the Cascade.
Rhinos. Yeah, he brought in the Blood Moon.
That's actually crazy. I love that.
Yeah. So I touched a little bit on this earlier. How Blood Moon is one of these very specific cards where if your opponent simply knows that it is in your 75 card somewhere, they have to respect it. Mm-hmm. So you can do this real fun thing where you can sideboard out the Blood Moons, and your opponent still has to respect the fact that they might be in your deck.
Oh. In that case, the Cascade almost is a benefit because you're revealing information.
Yeah.
And then they see that and
they
make
see
the
it.
assumption that it's
and
still
and now they're like, okay, well, I need to play around Blood Moon now.
Okay.
So it kind of slows them down a little bit.
Because they want to resolve their blue spells. And they're going to fetch basic islands.
Sure.
Yeah.
Slows them down a little bit. It kind of puts them on the back foot, right?
Yeah.
So the Blood Moons might be in his deck. They might not be in his deck. We'll never know until we know.
Hollowed Moonlight, absolute banger. Loved that card in the match. I felt like it did everything that he wanted it to. The draw card on it, where he wasn't expending a finite resource for it, so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's effectively just Time Walk, right?
Right, yeah. 2 mana, draw a card, your opponent doesn't get to do the thing they wanted to do.
Yep.
The issue was really that Chris was cascading from Shardless agents instead of Violent Outburst. If he was cascading from Outburst, I don't know that game finishes how it finished.
Right, yep. The Shardless agents were able to kind of go the distance, as it were, yep.
Yeah.
The Blood Moons are in his deck.
They're still in there.
He just saw one in his opening 7.
Okay. So, I don't know necessarily that... We're not trying to muscle out of Blood Moon here, right?
No, but I think that, it's totally something that you can do. You can play it on turn 2 with the Gemstone Caverns.
That's true. That is true.
Just turn your opponent's ability to play the game off entirely.
Do we... how much does that hamper? Like, if they muscle it through, there's still a decent amount of play the deck has.
It can play Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Indomitable Creativity.
And Lightning Bolt, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not really doing anything else. I don't think it's hard casting an Archon of Cruelty, right?
Not with a Blood Moon in play, no.
No, I don't think ever. It doesn't have black sources, does it?
Treasures,
right.
Yeah, it's for this 5-color creativity deck, it's not uncommon when you get in one of these grindy sideboard matchups for you to be able to cast Archon of Cruelty.
I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, just the amount of treasures that it makes sometimes ramp you into it.
They do have black sources. They are on one of the Jund's Triome and one of the Grixis Triome. So there are 2 black sources in the deck.
Okay.
Yeah, they have one Xander's Lounge and one Zeator's Proving Ground.
Looks like some lists are running the Savai Triome. The Mardu one as well.
Look, every time he has the Gemstone Caverns.
That's what the deck wants to do.
It wants to take the drawback.
It does want it.
Or the play. Sorry, it wants to take the drawback.
So bad.
Yeah.
It will sacrifice everything for it.
Yeah, that's absurd. So Gemstone Cavern's going to exile a Beseiju, just a couple of lands from creativity there. Stomping Ground's going to shock. Cascade spell coming.
Is it a Violent Outburst or is it a Shardless Agent's the ideal play here, right?
There's something to be said for violent outbursts with force of negation backup.
Oh, correct. Yeah, that would be Nutter Butters.
So
And
we can just pass,
this is effectively turn 2.
and then this is turn 2. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can just pass, and on our opponent's instep, violent outbursts. If they move to intercept, we can force of negation.
Did he bin a Beseiju there? Did he exile the Beseiju?
That is from the Gemstone Caverns.
From the Gemstone.
And
Yeah,
here we
that's-
see exactly that. It's a violent outburst on Shamus's instep.
Okay, yeah. It's wild to me how consistent this deck is with 8 Cascade spells.
Yeah.
We're going to fetch in response. I imagine we see a Spell Pierce here. Or potentially the change the equation. But, quick question. Violent Outburst. What creatures are those on the art?
They're from Alara.
Correct. Go on. I don't know what they are. Every time I see them, they're just like angry aliens.
Help us out, chat. Who are these creatures on Violent Outburst? There's a Hallowed Moonlight.
Yeah, all right.
Force of Negation.
Can somebody tell me what Violent Outburst is?
Do we have a Spell Pierce to counter the Force of Negation? Rhinos are in.
Rhinos are resolved. Wow.
And this was all on Shamus's instep. So now Rhinos gets to untap
Correct.
and do it again.
And this is all because Chris had the Gemstone Mine. Or
Gemstone Caverns.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah,
untap, get in for 8. This might just be it.
One more turn. Answer it or die. Wow. And Seamus likely can't creativity next turn, right? He just has to play the hard control game. And he has to remove both of these.
No, if he can creativity, he probably will. Because the buffer and the 6/6 blocker that offers is going to be pretty good against 2 4/4s. He won't be able to get in with the token that remains.
What I mean is that he physically cannot. There is not enough resources on the board for him to creativity right now.
No, he will need another fetch land.
Yes.
In order to do so.
And he needs a fetch land. He needs something and a token. He doesn't have a token in play.
The fetch land is the Dwarven Mine, which is the token.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Hadn't considered that. So he needs effectively 4 mana and a Dwarven Mine. So 4 mana, including a Dwarven Mine.
Right.
And
he
then
has
back
3
in.
lands in play, so if he has another fetch land here, he can go get the Dwarven Mine, make the token.
That's best case scenario.
And then that is best case scenario. And then creativity the token.
Okay. And then if
Here's a fetch land.
going to 5.
So any sort of interaction whatsoever here from Chris, whether it's a Brazen Borrow or whether it's a Mystical Dispute,
Yeah.
a subtlety.
We got it.
The dwarf is in play.
Dwarf is in play.
Indomitable creativity for 1. Says Shamus. Does Chris have the answer? He cracks a Misty Rainforest.
And Seamus is tapped out, and it's his own turn.
A dead gone here to kill the token.
And we have
Chris has so many answers to this right here.
Seamus can't force because it's his own turn.
He cannot use a Force of Negation. That is correct.
So he's going to dead gone the token. He's
cycling a Ketria Triome.
And he's going to look. Oh, it's a Solitude.
It definitely was not a Solitude.
No, not a Solitude.
I believe it was an Endurance.
I thought, okay. Or I thought it was a Subtlety.
So, Arcane of Cruelty, gonna hit the battlefield.
Gain him 3 life. Wow. That was exactly where Seamus needed it to be. They're both firing on all cylinders right now. What a game 3. So Chris now needs to bounce the Archon.
Right. He's at the mercy of the top of his library. If he had an answer there that would deal with the dwarf, it would probably also deal with the Archon in this scenario, right?
Okay. Here we go.
Here's a Murktide Regent.
Okay. So now we have a way to kind of cold this without a response. Without a response, we have what happened here.
I think we probably got a concession from creativity.
Okay.
Rhinos won that. Who won that? Yeah, creativity took that down.
Yeah.
That was Rhinos conceding to creativity.
I see. That wild.
Yeah.
That was the first time we've seen Rhinos lose a match on camera.
Yep.
Yeah. They've lost games before.
Yep.
But that was such a tight match, and Creativity had it exactly. You even called it. You were like, they need a fence joint?
I think it was more or less that Rhinos expended their resources to make sure that their Rhinos got put into play, which kind of left them defenseless against the Creativity. Not that was the wrong thing to do. I think that was absolutely the correct thing to do. It just kind of, hopefully he was going to be able to win that game before Creativity was able to put his own stuff together.
Homunculi from Esper.
Homunculi from Esper. I thought homunculi only had one eye.
That's from Innistrad.
I know that, but I thought that was like what a homunculus is.
I never knew that Esper had homunculi.
Okay, we'll be back with the semifinals after this break.
Everybody, love you.